So even if I were to show a leader there and leave from a castle, I don't get an extra move for that. You only get a +1 for claiming any form of leadership. Okay, so that was 2 moves. Now, if I go ahead and bring forces, if I do a muster and bring forces out of that recruitment box, I cannot move them this turn. So even though I mustered them, I can't move any further with those. For my last move, I'm actually going to take this stack of blocks here at Aizu, and I'm just going to move them 1 location to here. And then I'm going to claim that cube there. And I'm set up in a nice blocking position because now these Tokugawa blocks here have to come through me if they want to threaten my castle. I'm also kind of putting a little bit of pressure on Edo because now my opponent needs to be aware that I could make a sudden dash down and try to take Edo from behind him. Edo is not a castle, and so I could actually do something in the game known as an overrun. An overrun is when you take 4 blocks into a location that has only 1 block. And if you have a 4-to-1 ratio in the number of blocks, you basically destroy the enemy blocks. So if I took 4 blocks into a location with 1 enemy block, the 1 enemy block is removed from the game. Combat losses either in battle, siege, or in overrun are permanent losses. So there you have your movement, and that's another reason why you want to have a big Herkin stack moving around, is because you do possess a overrun capability. And as far as overruns go, you, I believe, cannot overrun castles. So with a castle, you still have to be able to take the castle in a siege. We'll show how one of those works here in just a moment. Does anyone have any questions so far? Like I said, this is a very different game. Unlike any other kind of block game I've ever played. It's a lot of bluff, a lot of card management. It's very deceptive in terms of its simplicity. The rules are really like 6 to 8 pages long, something like that. Average playing time, an hour and a half. If both of you know the game, you should be able to move along in an hour and a half. I played with a new player a couple weeks ago, no, 1 week ago, and it was, I think, a 2-hour playing time. It was both of our first game, and so we were going a little bit slow. And the setup is pretty quick. Like Paul just noticed here, setup times it only takes a couple minutes to put all the blocks out, so that cuts down a lot of your a lot of your play time with some games is taken up in setting up the game. This one actually goes pretty quick. So I'd say between 1 and 2 hours, based on how well you are with the game or how much analysis paralysis you encounter. Okay, so now that A turn is done, there's no combat situation that we've encountered here, so we're actually going to go to the B turn. Initiative stays the same for both the A and the B turn, so Tokugawa gets to go first again. Again, he has to decide, do I want to discard a card, or do I want to take a minimum movement? So, looking at the blocks here, trying to set up a battle situation, and I'm kind of thinking that it would be a good idea to go ahead and do another minimum move. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take this stack of blocks here, and we'll set up a battle situation. And by the way, this is not necessarily to show you best strategy. We're just showing how the game works, and this will set up a battle. Alright, we're going to move from this location, and we get a base move of 1, and we'll reveal to our opponent that we have a leader here. That'll give us the leadership modifier. We're not going to be moving along any major highways, so by showing the leader, it allows us to move 1 and 2, and now once we've entered the enemy location, now we have to stop, even if we had other movement points to spend, unless, of course, we overrun the enemy. Overrun does not cost movement points, by the way. Alright, so there's no overrun there, but again, we only purchased the 1 movement by discarding 0 cards. So now we go to combat and we have a field battle. Here's how a field battle works. Players are going to do this. 1 at a time, starting with the attacker, you're going to deploy a block. You're going to deploy a block by revealing a card from your hand and discarding it. Now, leaders are kind of cool because a leader if a leader is the first block you deploy to a battle, you can do it without using a card. So Tokugawa will reveal this leader here and commit him to battle, and you look at the number of Mons on that unit that's committed to battle. It's got 1 Mon on there. So we will take our cube here on the impact track and put it on the 1 box. Now, once a player is ahead in impact, the initiative in the battle switches to the opponent. Now the Ishida player may deploy blocks until he matches the number of impact that the opponent has or exceeds it. So now he's got to decide, what do I want to do here? Now it's kind of a dangerous thing. If I reveal my leader and lose the battle, that leader is probably going to die. So on the other hand, I could play a card. The only card that the Ishida player has that can control any blocks in this stack is this 1 card here. If he deploys this, he would deploy this block here and get 2 impact out of it. But let's just, for giggles and grins, let's go ahead and try to bluff and make my opponent think I've got more cards there than I really do. So I'm going to actually reveal my leader. So that's 1 Mon, impact goes up 1. Now here's where the game can take a twist. Now what's going to happen is the Tokugawa faction does not have the initiative yet. The Ishida faction still has the initiative because the initiative is actually tied. I'm sorry, you play until you've exceeded your opponent's impact. So now my opponent plays this card here and reveals this block. That's got 2 Mons on it, so we add 2 on the impact track. At this point, now the player is going to pass back to the Tokugawa player, but as a card is deployed for battle, the other side, if he has a loyalty challenge card, he can play that. But here's what a loyalty challenge card does. If you play one of these on your opponent must be able to reveal from his hand another card with the same Mon that was used to deploy that block. So here we use this card to deploy this block. If Tokugawa plays a loyalty challenge on them, then Ishida has to show another card with this symbol. If he cannot do that, then this block will change sides and fight against Ishida. So loyalty challenge cards can be very powerful. On the other hand, it could be a waste because your opponent may already have one of those. So you have to be very careful when you play the loyalty challenge card. Do you wait? Like right now, maybe he's got another block here that he could play to match that. So maybe I want to wait a little bit further and play it later in the battle rather than early in the battle. Because if I play it early in the battle, chances are he's going to match it. Because I know my opponent's got 2 more cards left. Maybe I don't want to play that one now. So for the sake of this battle, we're not going to play the loyalty challenge. We'll just hold on to it. Now, at this state, the impact score is 3-1 in favor of Ishida, and Tokugawa is yet to play a card. So now it's Tokugawa's turn to play because they're behind in the impact. So here's what they're going to do. We're going to play, look at my blocks here, make sure I do this right. We are going to play this card. Now again, you got to be careful when you play a card because you don't know if your opponent has a loyalty challenge card. So now I've got a choice. Do I play my strongest block here, or do I play my second strongest block? So in this case here, we're going all in. We're going to go ahead and play this one. Now this is a 3-Mon block, so we add 3 to the track. Then we get a bonus. You add +1 more for each block that has a matching Mon that has been previously deployed in that battle. Previously we deployed this leader that has the same Mon as this guy, so now we get another +1, and so now the score is 5-3. Does that make sense to everyone? So by playing more cards of the same faction, you up the risk, the danger of loyalty challenge cards played against you. But on the other hand, you can have a lot more impact by playing more blocks of the same faction than by mixing it up. Well, at this stage of things, the Ishida faction has no more cards to play, so they will simply say, "I pass, we're done." Now, the Tokugawa player could, call it quits at this point, and he's going to win the battle. Or he can continue to play cards to deploy more blocks. Now, why would you want to do that? Because of how casualties are doled out. The loser of the battle will always lose 1 block. They will lose 1 additional block for every 7 impacts scored against him. So if I can score 2 more impact with Tokugawa, then Ishida's going to lose 2 blocks here. So fortunately, I actually have a card to do that. I'm going to reveal this card to reveal this block. Then that gives me 2 more impact, gets me to the 7. So not only is Ishida going to lose the 1 block for losing the battle, but they're going to lose 2 blocks now because of the 7 impacts scored against them. Now let's say I got the impact up to 13. Well, it's in multiples of 7, so until I get to 14, he won't lose the 3rd block. So if I by some miracle got the impact up to 14, he would lose 1 block for losing the battle, 1 block for the first 7, 1 block for the second 7 impacts scored against him. So in this particular battle, Ishida is going to lose 2 blocks. Losses must come from blocks deployed to battle. So this block is going to go to the destroyed blocks window and is out of the game permanently, as well as that leader. If more damage was done, would be chosen. Loyalty card does not cancel a loyalty card. Sorry. The only way to stop a loyalty card is by revealing a card that has a mon matching the mon of the block whose loyalty was challenged. Okay, at the end of a battle, you're going to redraw cards based on the outcome of that battle. And here's how card replenishment works. Both sides are going to lose 1 block for every 7 impact delivered by their opponent. So what's going to happen is we already doled out our damage. Then both sides discard. Okay, we already doled out all of our damage here. Both sides discard all cards used in battle and redraw an equal number. So Ishida dealt 1 card to the battle, so that's going to discard, and they will draw 1 replacement. And that would also apply to any loyalty card played in that battle, by the way. Tokugawa played 2 cards in the battle, so they get to discard their 2 cards deployed to the battle and redraw 2 cards. So their card count is not down. And by the way, the phasing player decides the order in which battles are doled out. So say you have cards, really good cards for a particular battle. You might want to fight that one first and see what you redraw for other battles that you moved into. Yes, one side has more loyalty cards. If I remember right, Tokugawa has 4 loyalty cards in their deck, and Ishida has 3. So you basically redraw a number of cards equal to the number of cards you played for that battle. Then you also draw 1 card for every 2 blocks that you lost in that battle. Now, Tokugawa didn't lose any blocks, so he's okay. Ishida lost 2 blocks, so then he gets to draw 1 card. So now Ishida's card count has actually changed a little bit there. So yeah, the battle lost their blocks, but now they've recovered a little bit because they've been able to draw an additional card there. So that's how the cards are replenished. Then the loser has to retreat, and in this case here, he's going to retreat back to his castle area there. And the cube will then adjust back to Tokugawa control. And that is the end of the Tokugawa part of that turn. Anyone have any questions on battle? Okay, what happens if a block switches sides? Does it get eliminated if original side wins? Okay, if a block switches sides, it will immediately go back to his opponent's control after the battle's over, assuming it survives. It could be used as a casualty. But if it survives the battle, it will go back to his opponent after that. Good question. The number of mons on a card don't have to match the number of blocks. Here's what this card does, okay? I don't have a lot of these deployed on the map. Let me take a couple of these out. Let's just imagine for a moment that last battle there was a couple of these Mori faction blocks in there. If I were to play this card, it's a double card, which allows me to deploy 2 blocks at once. So I deploy this block here for 3 impact. Let's say that's my first card. Okay, that's 3 impact, and then I play the second one. I deploy the second block for 3 more impact plus 1 because I've already played a Mori faction card, so that's actually a total of 7 impact with 1 card. That's what the double Mon symbol cards are for. The number of Mons on the card do not have to match the number of Mons on the block deployed. The double Mon cards just allow you to throw 2 blocks at once into the battle for bigger impact. And then if loyalty is challenged, okay, say I played this and they challenge loyalty, okay, I reveal this card here, okay, both blocks are safe from the loyalty challenge. And the loyalty challenge card then is wasted. Except you would draw a replacement for that loyalty challenge card. Let me explain what these Mori blocks are for in this box here. Basically, these guys can be brought onto the map at Osaka on a 1-for-1 basis whenever the Ishida player discards one of his cards. He can do it at any time. He can discard one of his cards and place one of these blocks into Osaka. The leader has to be the last of these Mori blocks deployed. But again, be careful about that, because if you discard all 4 cards and put 4 of these down, you're going to have a card count differential that you're going to have to deal with in the game. So you have to do this, kind of gradually and carefully. All right, let's go ahead and take the Ishida faction here, and let's do a minimum move here and see if we can't accomplish a nifty battle situation. Now, I'm trying to set up a siege situation here. Don't really have a good siege situation at present, but let's go ahead and try this anyways. We're going to just do a minimum move, and that will allow us to let's go ahead and take this stack here and just move them 1. See, it would be a dangerous thing to engage in battle with this stack here, because there's only 1 card that controls any blocks. So at this point, I would just move the 1 in here and take the cube. So, and then I would stop and no battle this turn. So that is the end of the weekly cycle. We've done an A turn and a B turn. Now here's what happens. Start of the next cycle, what you do, the first thing you do is each player discards half of their hand. Rounded down. So if you have 5 cards, you discard 2 of your cards. All right. In this case, each player has 4 cards. You discard your half of your hand. So let's say for Tokugawa, we discard that one, and that one will hang on the other 2. And then you draw 5 more. So he's going to go ahead and draw 5. And this is no good, because now he knows that all of his loyalty cards have been drawn at this point, and it's very early in the game. So he's going to have to play very, very carefully with this. And then similarly, Ishida has to discard down. Let's go ahead and discard this one. And by the way, there is not an equal number of each Mon symbol. There is not an equal number for each faction. New players would do well to look at their card decks and see which factions have a greater preponderance of cards.